two pertaining to a matter that was discussed as our full committee a few weeks ago. It was assigned to this committee and a subcommittee, and we appreciate the opportunity to discuss it. I trust that all of our members of the subcommittee are familiar and up to speed on where we're at with this bill. We had several people present at our public hearing regarding this bill. So just as an opportunity today for members of this subcommittee to discuss, share thoughts, opinions, and for us to move through this process to determine where we would like to go with this bill. So I'm first going to open it up to my colleagues for any comments regarding this bill.
I know Representative Jones, you were a mayor, correct?
Yes.
Was it Mobile?
Yes.
Yes, a big city, and I was mayor as well in Tuscany, a much smaller city than yours. But I know you had some points on this that you were delivering during the session, during the meeting. I'd like to hear more about it.
Okay. After we met, I really got a chance to talk to two of the members that I don't think they've been on the personnel board long, but they've been appointed to the personnel board. And the big question, our personnel board works based on the act, but it also has the ability to actually adopt its own rules, which means if one of the municipalities or the county government or another entity went to them and said, well, there's a rule that we think is hampering us from getting employees, the board itself can change those rules. I asked them how many requests they had like that. They said they don't call any since they've been on the board. And it just appears to me that, and the employees who came up here said that they were surprised about this, and they found out the day before. That's why they came up here. We're talking about 7,000, 8,000 people who are under the system. Whereas if one branch, the way the system works is all of the entities pay into the system, the largest one being the county and the city government. If one of those pulls out, you really threaten the system from ever being in any kind of system at all, because they do most of the funding based on the number of employees. One has 2,300, the other one has 1,900 employees, and that's really the gist of what sets up the system. It appears to me that it's really something that I think if locally they got together and talked about, it could be worked out, and a bill probably could come up here that would be palatable for everybody. The employees, the jurisdiction, and everyone. But as I see, this is not that kind of bill, as I understand from talking to you. I think you heard the employee groups when they came up, and talking to some of the members of the personnel board. And what I'm afraid of, and the reason it came into play back in the late 30s, is because at that time, employees were hired on the small system. When new elected officials came into office, they got rid of the employees that were there and brought in all their own folk. So nobody could ever really have a career in the system. And that's why the personnel boards came about in just about throughout the state. So I'm really concerned about whether everyone involved in the system has some input into where we're going with this, because this merely authorizes people to get out. They don't have to give any notice to get out in a particular time. They can get out within a week if they want to. And what I'm trying to figure out, and I've asked some questions about this, what did that do with people who've been in the progression of the system for 14 years? And all of a sudden, that progression kind of goes away because it's not a system anymore. That's the part that concerns me more than anything else. And I just don't think that I see those provisions being made in the legislation I've seen so far.
And I certainly appreciate that comment. I think what you were alluding to at the end was related to the merit system and the efforts that have been put forth by employees over a substantial period of time, in some cases decades, where they have moved to that point, and then the possibility of that being undone.
Well, a perfect case was we had some majors come up here from the police department. They started as, police officers, and they've gone up to a certain rank. They want to know what happens if we get rid of that particular progressive part of the system? Where does that put me? And where does that put the guy who's been here 7 years opposed to somebody who gets appointed tomorrow? That's what they're real concerned with.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? I think, you know, as there was in our full body committee meeting, there were some concerns about this bill, I think, and they've been shared by a couple of my colleagues with respect to its application, the impact it may have on existing employees. And I think the other element of it is the impact that it may have on other jurisdictions throughout the state that, you know, are in a similar structure, but would then open them up to unintended consequences or potential impacts that have just been described here. So I'd certainly welcome the opportunity to discuss this. I think also it's my understanding that there are some continuing discussions with respect to this whole topic with the parties involved, and there may be something that comes to that. But at this point, I'm not sure that we're able to take a position on this with a lot of the issues that have been shared by my colleagues.
I agree with it.
Representative Crawford, do you have any?
I agree with what you're saying. It seems like we have created some other interests and people that may affect, and we should probably get everybody together and not get in a hurry and cause something that's going to cause a problem. Yes. Fix it, and it has to take the end of the session or even another year, rather than create something that we wish we hadn't done. So, and then maybe have an opportunity to even get it to a local bill if they can work everything out.
I think what we will, we're not obligated to take a position on this today, whether we're favorable or unfavorable. We're just having ongoing discussions. I think that we'll continue to reach out to the parties involved and see if there is some reconcilable solution to get us where we need to be. But if everyone's in agreement, I think that we will conclude our meeting today, and we'll pick this up at a future time. And I'll report back to Chairman Ingram that we are not taking a stance at this point, but we're continuing to evaluate.
Holding until further action taken.
Pardon me. Okay. Everyone in agreement with that?
Agree.
All right.
Get adjourned, sir.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good job.